Welcome to the Jeff Me Jones video blog. I am Jeff Jones. This is going to be a weird blog post. For those who don't know, I am an audio engineer by trade. I do have my degree. And a couple of years back, I posted a video about how to mix music, understanding sound fields. I wanted to do a whole series, but due to financial restraints, I couldn't continue with the series. But the video's been up for a while and it's gotten a lot of good reviews, which I do appreciate. So I'm not a practicing audio engineer at the moment. What I'm working on currently, if you allow me to throw this in for one quick second, what I'm working on at the moment is a video game that's going to be running on the Android platform. So if you have an Android device and it has the Android market or the Amazon market, I'm trying to get into other markets as well, but if you have an Android device and it also has one of those markets on it, then I will be my game will be in those markets. Now, what's the name of the game? I don't want to disclose that yet. If you want to know and when will it be released, I don't have that information either. I'm learning programming. I'm doing it in JavaScript. So if you follow me on Twitter at Jeff Me Jones, the date it is released, I will be putting that post out there. So please, if you if you have an Android device, please download the game. It's going to be free for the first couple of levels, and then if you want to buy the additional levels for the game, it's going to be 99 cents. Don't quote me on that. It's not 100%. This is just, I don't want to have to put it in there for $2 and everyone say, oh, he said it was $1 in his blog. So let's just, for the time being, we want to estimate the price at 99 cents. So for the additional levels. But someone sent me an email and asked me a question about mixing audio, and I wanted to respond to them, but I also wanted to do it in a way so others could reap the benefits from the same response. So if anyone else is having the same type of problem, or my answer can be applied to different types of problems with similar backgrounds. So the question was, as a matter of fact, let me read. I'm not going to read his email in its entirety online, but let me go ahead and look at the basic underlying question that they're asking. It says, I have a track that I'm working on, and now I'm wondering what is the best way to clean up the sub bass kick. So pretty much, for those who don't know what a sub bass kick, it's pretty much a kick with it's a sample of a kick with a bass attached to it, a low sounding bass. You will use this in hip hop records. It originated from well, I'm not sure this is 100% its origin, but it has references to techno music. If you really listen to a lot of techno, they reverse a sub bass kick, and you hear it like whoop, 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 whoop. That's a sub bass kick, but in reverse, and that's where it's predominantly used. But we use it a lot in hip hop. If you don't know, I do hip hop music, or did hip hop music. I'm not really into mixing anymore. So the first thing to look at, and I said this on Twitter, is the bass, is that kick, that sub bass fighting with anything? It's distorting. When you play the whole record back in its entirety, it's distorting. It doesn't sound crisp and clean. So, but everything else sounds pretty good. That's what I'm assuming from this email. So is it fighting with any other instrument? When you have other bass sounding instruments or other instruments that have bass in it that you don't realize, like a hum in other instruments, and every other track could have a hum in it. That could be a problem. A low hum that you can hear physically with your ears that clearly, but it's in that low, hums are in that low range. And so when that bass is playing and those hums are playing, they fight each other, Or a piano that has just too much bass in it that you didn't realize. But more than likely, another bass guitar. Hold on for one quick second. Let me stop the post. This is not the original. I'm jumping in the middle of the original post. It's going to start back up in a second. I was listening back to the post and to the description, and I said the word piano a lot, and people might get confused and think I'm just talking about a piano. So for those of you who think, when I say piano, I mean any other instrument in your song. So it can, or any other sound, period. Could be your vocals, could be your guitar, your synths, and I mean it could be your sound effect. You had a a telephone ring in one part of the song or something like that. Any other sound, that's the piano. I don't mean to stress that point, but when I listen to this back, I keep saying piano, piano, piano. I mean any other sound besides this sub bass. Alright, here we go. So when that bass is playing and those hums are playing, they fight each other, you know. Or a piano that has just too much bass in it that you didn't realize. But more than likely another bass guitar. Two basses don't, flat out two basses don't sound good together. A bass guitar and a sub bass kick. Trying to make those two instruments live together is a very hard engineering task. It can be done. Listen, hard engineering task. You can use different techniques, but that's not what this blog post is about. So what you do is you take each track and solo the bass by itself, the sub kick. I'm sorry, solo the sub kick by itself, and then solo one track at a time with it. Solo the sub kick and solo the piano. Playing both back together. Does it have that nasty sound, that bad feeling that you have? If it is, oh, it's fighting with that piano. Solo the bass guitar and solo the sub kick by themselves, nothing else. Does it have that same problem? Does it have that problem? If it is, those two are fighting with each other, so on and so forth. Solo the bass by itself. Now, if it's sounding bad by itself, like when you solo it by itself, oh, it sounds like a beautiful sub bass, then the sub bass is not the problem. Of course, it's other instruments that it's fighting with. But so do those things. So let's say you find out that, okay, the piano is I soloed with every other instrument and they sound good together. But when I soloed it with the piano, it just didn't sound right. Well, what you do is you take that piano sound, you throw a EQ on there. You want to do a high pass filter and turn that filter up as high as it can go. If you don't know what a high pass filter is, I can't go into detail, but it's just cutting off the bass. High pass cuts the bass, low pass cuts the highs. So throw that EQ on there and turn it up as make it cut off as much bass as possible out of that piano until the piano starts to sound thin. And if it starts to sound too thin, then release some of that cutoff. Put some bass back in. And don't be fooled. When it's soloed and it sounds too thin, it doesn't matter because the other instruments need that. The piano is not that important. It's an important sound, but it's not that important to have that much bass in there. There's other instruments with bass sound. That's why. Unless throughout your song the piano plays by itself somewhere, then there's another technique you can use to do that, but I'm not going to go into details. Any other instrument that has that same problem, you solo, throw the high pass filter on there. That'll definitely clean it up so that bass can sound good by itself. So that's how you fix that issue. Now, if you soloed it by itself and it's having the problem, it's sounding nasty by itself. For one, you might need another sample of a sub bass. Like go somewhere else, go to different websites, search on Google for a sample of a sub bass, because that sub bass is just nasty by itself. But if you intended on having that same sub bass and you just want to clean it up, throw an EQ on there and do the seek and destroy method. What it is you throw any EQ on there and turn the levels 100%. And scroll through the frequencies. Turn the volume up of the EQ 100% and scroll through the frequencies and find the frequencies that are bad. Throw a parametric EQ on there that has about 4 different channels that you can manipulate, 4 different EQ sets that you can manipulate. And if you don't know how to use a parametric EQ, that's a whole nother video. So email me those who don't know what that is. But yeah, do the seek and destroy method. Find the nasty frequencies in that sound, and then once you find them, you say that's where it's jittering at the most. Pull those down, negative them. You had it at 100%, throw them down 5%, 6% dB in volume in dB, and then widen its effect on the sound in the parametric EQ, and that should definitely clear. Do that about 4 different times and 4 different EQs. 4 different frequency sets, and that should definitely cleans up any sound in general. That's not just for the sub bass. The other technique is definitely for bass instruments. You throw a high pass filter on other instruments to get rid of their bass so that this bass can live. Those guys don't need bass because this guy needs it the most. I know that piano wants a little bass and it's going to sound good with a little bass, but screw it. Get rid of that bass out of that piano. He's not important with bass because the bass guitar or the sub bass needs room for that bass. There's only so much room, that your ears can tolerate for sounds. Okay, so you've done all those things and it still hasn't stopped the jittering and the sound effects, the badness of that sound. What you do is, the only other issue is that it's just entirely too loud. And of course the answer is just turn it down, but no, this is what you do. Take every single track that you have, every track, select them all and turn them all down in an even progression. And this isn't really good leveling, but listen to this. If you had the piano at 12 dB and had the guitar at 6 dB and that sub bass was at 12 dB as well, grab all, and that's all the instruments you had in your track was 3 instruments, but of course you're gonna have more than that with the vocals and all that. But let's just imagine your full track had 3 instruments at those levels. Grab every single track and bring it down. I mean, like literally down to half of its volume level. I know it's crazy. Bring it down half. Yes. Bring the 12 one down to 6. Bring the 6 one down to 3. Bring the 3 one evenly though. Bring them all down. And now go to your speakers or your headphones or your whatever you're listening to that and turn that up. Okay. And now mix that sub bass in. And that should definitely get rid of the loudness, sound, and the jitters in it. Now, from that point, what you do is evenly turn everything back up slowly until the bass starts to jitter. Now, if you start to turn it up like that, and then it turns out that everything is still too low, once you get to the point where the bass is jittering, and you back off a little bit, so turn it up, everything evenly, and the bass is starting to distort or jitter. You bring it down a little bit, boom, that's the perfect spot, and you look at that spot and it says everything is still too low. What you do at that point is you go to the master output of your DAW, digital audio workstation, whatever you're using to mix with, and I'm assuming it's all digital. You're not talking about outboard gear. If you're talking about outboard gear, then that's a different story. But if we're doing this all on the computer, go to the master output of that, and then you have to throw a compressor on there, and then turn the compressor up. Now, at the bottom of this video, I'll put a link to some beautiful virtual compressors and master compressors for the master channel of your audio. But once you have turned it down and you want to blast it louder, though it's not sounding loud enough, then not even sounding loud enough when you're looking at it in your master playback, and it's still not giving its full power, you want to throw a master compressor on there. And the one I like the most is I forget the name of it, like I said, I haven't practiced long, but the Maximizer by Waves Audio, I believe that's what the name of the company is, and they do virtual compressors and virtual mixing programs that you can use. They call them VSTs, so do a search on Google and you'll find some beautiful ones. Now they're not free, but if you want good music, you have to pay good mixing equipment. So that's all the techniques I can think of off the top of my head right now. If I come up with anything else, I'll post it in the comments at the bottom of here. But leave a comment at the bottom. Tell me what you think about the response. If you're the individual, and let me get the guy's name who inspired this blog post in the first place. He's on Twitter at ThorougC at Twitter, THUROUGH_C on Twitter. So I hope this answered your question, ThorougC. And if you have any more questions, just don't hesitate to ask. Anyone else has any mixing questions? I enjoy answering the questions, but like I said, I'm not a practicing audio engineer at the moment. So, and my video game should be out within the next month or so. So please follow me on Twitter, and I'm going to be tweeting about the game's progress. And even if you don't like the game, just download it anyway to support my efforts in the different endeavors. So. Alright, you guys, take it easy. Peace.